Hello everyone, Niamh here, and today I am doing the final part in my tarot myth making. This is part 3, and I went into this with the idea that this could be something I do every month, but I was also open to possibly it being a one-shot, just a single video. But I have settled on this 3 parts here. And there's a few reasons for that. I do still kind of have some ideas and stuff about it, but I think overall, it's started to run its course. And also, this is something that hasn't fully really picked up for other people, which is fine. And someone in my last video sort of mentioned that maybe it's a little too creative for my own good here. And that's why it hasn't really picked up, and that could be the case. It is kind of an obscure sort of idea, but in general I think what it's, I call it tarot myth-making, and I say that it's creating this mythology from tarot cards and oracle and the Normand, etc. But honestly, it's more of a writing aid. Doing it like this is really just coming up with a character, coming up with a background on this character, and coming up with some stories, things like that. And yeah, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a myth. That's just kind of the context that I've started with it. Anyway, so the story that we've been going through here is the main character is the Hanged One, and we decided in the last video to come up with some names, and only one person gave their idea, and that was based on the Sun card and the Heart card from Lenormand, both of those from Lenormand. And based on Sun and Heart, that person suggested Brightheart. So that's just what we're going to go with. This character's name is Brightheart. They're a deity from a family of fiery, passionate deities, potentially warriors. They potentially a hot climate, or star honestly I got a lot of star energy with them, because the father figure that we've figured out from the part 2 was the Queen of Swords, and that really embodied the stars. The stars was their major realm card, and which added to this sun energy. Yeah, and I'm not going to recap all the other cards that we pulled. Basically, that's kind of what I wanted to pull out. This card represents our main deity, whose name is Brightheart, and I'm going to use he, him pronouns for this character. They have a conflict in their life, in his life. I see, now I'm messing up my pronouns. Because there's a conflict in his life, or in his role as a deity. All the deities in his pantheon, in his family, are fiery and passionate, and we see that here. But he really wants to embody this King of Cups energy and maybe go a more peaceful route. They're all warrior types, there was also a sense that he didn't feel as appreciated in his family, one of the ways to definitely connect with this deity, with Brightheart, is through devotionals and attention and offerings and things like that. So, and he is happy to bring those offerings to others. And in the last video, we met Brightheart's father, who was represented by the Queen of Swords, and his name was based on the Lenormand cards Ring and Anchor, but we didn't really come up with what what the names were for the family members, so we'll just stick with Brightheart. The mother was the Queen of Cups, which is interesting, considering that Brightheart wants to embody this King of Cups energy, and her name was based off of Rider and Bouquet. And then finally, the third character, most important character in Brightheart's life as this deity, is his grandmother, who we determined was the mother of his mother. And she was represented by the Queen of Wands. There's that fiery energy. And her name was based on the person card and the writer. So that's a little recap there. So, yeah, and the grandmother seemed the most supportive of Brightheart's goal of being this more peaceful deity within this family of like warriors. All right, so let's go on to this next part of this. A quick detour real quick. I'm going to pull my morning card, which is what I've been doing in each of my videos this month as a way to remember to pull my daily card. So I'm not interpreting this card. I'm just pulling a single card for my day. And I'm just going to write the name of that card in my journal real quick. All right, so today I have pulled the goose. All right, nice. So I'm going to grab my journal here real quick. I'm gonna go to this page. Still have not finished decorating this page, but that's okay. Today is the 21st, so I've actually missed quite a few days here. So I'm gonna write right here, goose. And this video is going to go up on Saturday, which is right here. So it's gonna go up in a few days. All right, so thank you for joining me for that. Okay, so for today's element of the story, we're going to come up with a story. So the first episode, we kind of came up with our character. And I've kept the card out here. This is the Hanged One from the Cosmic Slumber Tarot, and our deity's name is Brightheart. It is a male deity, he, him pronouns. Yeah, and it's from a fire family, or a passionate fire warrior type family, but he wants to be the King of Cups, and he wants to reside in the realm of just like pleasures and peace and comforts and things like that, instead of this fiery, passionate warrior type identity that he's been surrounded by with his family. All right, so that's the recap there. I'm going in totally different thing here for the cards for this series, for this episode. So we're going to start off with the Kamito Yokai, and I'm not going to pull a card yet, but I am going to open this. There we go. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to pull one card from this that's going to basically start the story. Yeah, so this is going to start the story. And this is a Japanese deck. So I will, when I pull the card for this, I'm going to pause my video and use the Google Lens on it to interpret the guidebook, because the guidebook for this deck is in French, and I don't speak a lick of French. I can understand some Japanese now, but not really French. So I will kind of come up, and the story for whatever card is pulled. So I'm just gonna show this. It kind of looks like that goose that I pulled, huh? But yeah. So this for the example here. I don't know exactly what this god or spirit, this Japanese god or spirit represents. So I will look in the book, and whatever that story represents, that's the kind of the story, that's the beginning of this particular tale of Brightheart. So then what I will do after I pull the beginning of the story, I'm going to lay out a full grand tableau from the Green Glyphs Lenormand here. So this is the Green Glyphs Lenormand. I'm going to lay out all 36 cards in an 8x4+4 format, and that will be the details of the story. We're going to examine that grand tableau and kind of come up with the details of the story. And finally, at the end, we're going to grab this deck here. This is the Cosma Visions. Yeah, Cosma Visions Oracle, which is kind of a tarot, kind of an oracle deck here. And if you want to do something similar, you can use a tarot deck, you can use another oracle type deck. a tarot deck would really work, but I went with this because it's kind of the best of both. It's both an oracle and a tarot sort of thing, so I thought it might be fun to add to this. So yeah, totally different from last episode where I used the Zeke's Arcana. A very different vibe here. So yeah, so let's get this started. Oh, and by the way, the 2 cards that I pull from here will kind of represent the overall lesson that we're supposed to learn from this story. So yeah, I forgot to mention that. Okay, starting off the adventure, we are pulling a card from the Kamito Yokai oracle here. Hey, I was able to bridge that a little bit because I can only shuffle this from the corner up here because these are so tall and skinny. Ooh, I was able to do a little bridge there, but I wasn't able to do a bridge before, but it looks like I am slightly able to with this one. So the beginning of the story for Brightheart here. We have Wakasa no Ningyo. And we'll look at that real quick. Wakasa no Ningyo. And I think that's fish. Yep, that makes sense. That's so fish person. And I'm trying to break down the kanji here. But anyway, so I'm going to pause this real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the book for this card, this book. I'm going to look up the Wakasa no Ningyo. Let's see. I'm not sure if it's going to be in alphabetical. It's alphabetical order based on the Romaji. So just saw it. Okay, so found that. Here's the actual page if you're interested in seeing that. Hopefully it's not blurry. I can't quite tell. So if you can speak French, there is the full page for that. But I don't speak French, so I'm going to pause this real quick and I'm going to open Google Lens and just get a quick synopsis of this card. Okay, so I just finished reading the page for this story, the Wakasa no Ningyo, and I will probably put up on screen my screenshots of the Google Lens interpretation or, translation of these pages. Now, because this is Google Lens, the translations aren't going to be perfect, and especially since it's separated over 3 pages here. So it's close enough, and you guys can read the little story there. But a recap, essentially, is that this, of course, I was like, oh, fish person. Person fish, of course, mermaid, duh. Mermaid. So, and these kanji here represent a region of Japan called Wakasa. So that's what that means, basically. But it also can mean youth or, something like that. So this basically means Wakasa's mermaid, the mermaid of Wakasa. Or it could also kind of mean the mermaid of youth. So it's kind of got that double meaning here. And if you read the story, it kind of has that same sort of thing. So I'm zooming in just a little bit so we can really look at this. So essentially in the story, a mermaid was essentially found and looking like this, like not what we would typically think of as a mermaid. And a fisherman decided to share this meal, caught this mermaid as food, and decided to share this meal with those in his community. And one of the guests snuck away to the kitchen and saw the head of this fish, which obviously looks like a human, in the kitchen, and was freaked out and discreetly didn't want to offend the fisherman, but discreetly told the guests what he saw. And so all of them, except for one, politely hid away the food of this fish and didn't eat it, probably fearing some sort of curse or something like that. And and one person didn't do that, and at his home, his young daughter ate some of the fish. And when she grew up, she got married a few times, but each of her spouses died of old age, and she basically didn't age past young adult womanhood. So essentially, that's it. And like the moral of the story was basically to have a better relationship with your food, something like that. But I'm actually going to take this in a different direction. Because Brightheart here, his goal is to be the King of Cups. He comes from this very fiery family, but he has this watery desire, and so I'm really connecting with this, and it's sort of, this is a fish out of water here, and in many senses of the word. So I feel like the start of this story is him embodying this energy of the Ningyo, the mermaid, and kind of being that fish out of water, the fiery fish out of water, and his trek to discover himself, this trek of self-discovery. So that's where we are starting the story. So I'm going to move these to the side. And I'm also going to zoom out now. So I'm going to keep this card over here. It might be in frame, might not be in frame, but the next thing I'm going to do is pull out a grand tableau. And we are going to show just the detailed story, the happenings of Brightheart going off on his pilgrimage. He's a fish out of water, and he is going on this path of discovery. So what's the details of the story? I'm going to pull out, I'm going to shuffle real quick, and I'm going to pause it because it's going to be boring to watch me try to lay out 36 cards. So yeah, be back in a mo. All right, I just laid out the first three cards real quick, and I was about to pull out the rest of them, but I need to just show this a little bit, and I'm going to put this back up in the corner where it belongs. But so the first three cards in a Lenormand Grand Tableau represent the main purpose of the story. And this was just too perfect not to pause this real quick and show. So Lily is old ways. Sun, I mean, that indicates this is a deity from this Sun clan. In fact, I've got this card here. So very much connects with that. So shedding this identity to embrace a new identity, because and a new way of being seen by others. Because in tarot, the moon kind of, so let me backtrack. The moon in either tarot or Lenormand, I view it as a mirror, and the moon or the mirror in Lenormand represents what the world sees of you. It's kind of your reputation. It's what you are reflecting out into the world. The moon in tarot is kind of what's behind that mirror, the other side of the mirror. And it's something that's very hidden, and it's still part of you, but it takes effort to see the side. You've got to physically turn the mirror around to see the dark side of that mirror, the dark side of the moon. So that's how I view the moon. So I just thought these three cards for the initial part of the story were absolutely perfect. Lily shedding the old, and to embrace a new way, a new reputation, and how you want to be seen in the world. And I saw what the next card was going to be, so I kind of want to pull this because this was just too funny. And the next one is the fish. I mean, so this is fun. So I'm going to finish laying out all of these cards, and yeah, we'll interpret this. Okay, so I had to zoom way out, and I still don't quite have everything in here, but I'm going to do a quick move around of this so you can see what all of this is. So we saw this first line here. Ooh, it's moving around a little too much here. Okay, we saw this first line here, the beginning of the story. our character is going off as a fish out of water. And how perfect is this? Shedding his old identity to he's moving past his old identity to bring a new identity, and that is that of fish. And then we have the key next, which is hoping the key ship, finding the rewards, what he's looking for. The key is like the key to life, the key to his purpose. And he's going off on the ship, leaving his world behind, and in search for those gifts, for those, for the, that ace of, what was it here? The Ace of Pentacles energy, and that's really what we see here with the bouquet, and a new way to put down roots. So that's that first line. Yeah, so we did that first line, and then we have the ending way at the bottom, which we'll get to that in a moment. But I kind of want to just take a peek around and see what we find here. So some of the conflicts that we see on his path. I mean, we see a lot of paths, a lot of conflict cards here. We've got the whip, we've got the fox, the coffin, the mountain. Those are 4 cards here. That the red card. What's nice about the green glyphs is the red cards are the negative cards, and we see that here with the coffin. The coffin itself is what's in red, but the red is showing a potential negative or a conflict. And we have those here. They're kind of bunched up here. We still see a little bit of conflict down here and at the very bottom with the scythe. But that scythe can also be cutting out conflict. So there's different ways of interpreting that. So I would say what's blocking his path? Well, let's start knighting some of this and see what we come up with. The unknown, how he wants to be seen by others, that's what's being blocked. These gifts that he wants to receive, that's what's being blocked. Then down here, the sense of home and home. A community is more the garden, but the sense of home is what's being blocked. Yeah, and the snake here is also being blocked, which is probably a good thing. Yeah, so that we see. What is he being boxed in by? The overbearingness, probably from his father. Let's see. Feeling like he can't go out on this trip alone or on his own. This is possibly something he's choosing to block. This who he was. This sun energy. Yeah, and then he's being confined, feeling confined. Yeah, that was coffin, blocked, and coffin is that what you're being confined by, and that sense of who the responsibility of the overbearing energy of his fiery upbringing, and we see that here with the child as well. So yeah, so we're getting a good amount of things with that. So what's the burden? Cutting out. This is the scythe way down here, which we can't quite see. Sorry about that. So a burden of cutting out the responsibilities, the commitment that he made as his family, and then his feelings. He does feel that his feelings can sometimes be a burden. Let's see. What else we got here? Oh, and the mountain is also what's... so he's being blocked by his responsibilities, by his burdens, and that's what's contributing to a lot of this. Okay. Yeah, and then I do find it interesting that the sun knights both with the clouds and the albatross. The albatross is the cross. And so I feel like the sun, where he came from, is something he's unsure about, and can't see the sun as part of his personality anymore. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a few more just look arounds. Um, of this knighting. And then the core of the story we see right here, feeling confined and blocked in. And if we remember, card number 28, the person card represented his grandmother. She was the person and the writer, which is down here at the bottom. Not sure if you can see, but it's down here at the bottom. And they actually knight. So this actually shows a lot of the person knights with the writer. So this is his grandmother's energy here coming through. And I think it's targeting this garden. And how he feels like he is a fish out of water right now, because that's again knighting with this garden. So like once you start, like it's a little starting a Lenormand reading, it can sometimes start off kind of slow and a little jumpy, but once you get going, you start to see all the connections, and that's what's kind of fun. And the grandmother is what's providing some of that luck. She's the one bringing the things to help him. And I like that it's next to the stork. With that luck, he is able to venture off and explore and to be one with himself, to evolve. And then have that connection with his followers, his adherents. Yeah, I see that there. And we see that with main person here. Main person would represent the Brightheart here. So the main person is connecting with his adherents by going off and traveling on his own, and he's also the writer here. So that makes sense, and that these connect. So he really has this connection with his grandmother energy, and those who are adherents of Brightheart would really he would recommend that they also be adherents to his grandmother, and there's a big connection with them. And his connection with his grandmother still brings that sense of connection with his family that he's stepping away from. So he's still staying in that contact. Let's see, what else we got here? And the writer is also a friend, so that helps. And one thing I notice with the stork knighting with the mice here is this sense of him going off and trying to rediscover who he is. There's still a lot of problems with that, and there's still a lot of things that come up, and it doesn't solve his problem. So it's an ongoing journey. And we see that too with ending way down here with we're cutting off that commitment and writing off to find secrets, to find knowledge, and to better, to uncover things. But ending with the book shows that this is an ongoing thing. This is not as simple as just cutting off those commitments, cutting off that family. And I mean, this being his grandmother, that is knighted with the ring here. So those are still connected. Yeah. So, very interesting. And we see them showing up again and again. I'm sorry if it's getting kind of dark in here. The lights keep changing a bit, so we'll bring that open here. We have the tower, which we have it next to the stars. And if I remember from the readings of the, see if I can lighten this a little bit. But anyway, the readings of the family members, the tarot card that represented the realm that his mother ruled over was the tower. Now that's the tower in tarot, and here we have the tower in Lenormand, but it's next to the stars, which the stars was the father in tarot. So I'm making a connection here. They're over here, and they're at the begin, like they're a little bit at the beginning. Like this is the very beginning, and this is the end over here. So he does find a way to move past the burdens of his parents and his family. But and there are still problems for him and questions he still has, paths he needs to go on, paths that some of them lead down treacherous avenues, while some of them lead down really prosperous avenues that bring a lot of, admiration and yeah, admiration is kind of what I was looking for there. But like what blocks that here? I mean, we've got that bear anchor, that overbearing hard things that we're connected to, and the father was ring and anchor, so that's sort of in the way. So I'm just sort of riffing off of this, but these are the details of this story. Yeah, the paths that he goes on. And I feel like this is such the beginning of the story because, the paths card is way over here. Crossroads is way over here, near the end of the story. So the story here is about that, getting over that fear, getting over the fear of being that fish out of water and just going for it. And I think that's the story. So I'm going to go ahead and close this off, and we're going to do the final part of this, which is the other card deck, which is going to be 2 cards that represent the moral of the story for our character here. All right, this is much better brightness-wise. Having that all zoomed out like that made it like super, super dark. And hopefully I can maybe edit that in my editing program, but it was like really dark, zoomed out like that. And now that I've zoomed back in, the lighting is much better. All right, so I am using the Cosmovisions Oracle / Tarot, and I am going to pull 2 cards to kind of represent the moral of the story for Bright Heart here. And yeah, the moral of the story. So this story was about his being that fish out of water and taking those first steps into venturing away from what was expected of him in his family of fiery deities. So we have the veil. The veil was lifted, and the 10 of birds, and a big part of his story had ended, but his old life had ended. A veil was lifted, and his old life ended, which brings about lots of difficulties. I mean, look how trapped it seemed that he was behind this veil. Yeah, and I love the starry nature of the Cosmovisions. It does feel very otherworldly. So yeah, he's taking that venture out from what was holding him back. That sort of energy that was showing there. And then this is like, what a tough card to receive too. Trying to focus here. There we go. The 10 of birds, which is the 10 of swords in tarot. Yeah, so obviously, like, this is kind of that hitting rock bottom sort of thing, but we see that this other bird flying off in the distance, like it's left what was holding him back, what was really, this whole thing here is ended. And it's starting new. So the 10 of Swords is often a card that is seen in a very negative way, and in a lot of ways it's kind of that worst card of the deck because it is rock bottom, but it's starting fresh from that rock bottom, and which is a scary thing. So I think the moral of the story is in that quest to shed the old and to embrace the new. It's incredibly difficult. It's a difficult journey to go on, to get rid of everything you once knew as that being who you are. And so that is the moral of and the closing of the story of Brightheart. So, the closing story for Brightheart is basically the beginning of his story. So I find that very interesting. And maybe at a later date, I might come back to this, or I'll do a new sort of round of myth making and and come up with a whole new story. We'll see. For the next main thing that I'll be doing, I'll be going over the Rujin Kado. That is the Dragon God Oracle cards. And I'm going to be doing a full-on study of that. So for the next 3 months, I'm thinking I will have 3 videos of that, and it'll go over the cards that I learned about in that month. Yeah, so and that I plan to do more as time goes on, but I'm committing to the next 3 months for it. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this tarot myth making venture that we went on. And it was also sort of a fun activity to kind of just get out my decks and come up with a story and just create characters and create a backstory and create the beginning of their journey. You know? So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye!